Right now, more than 7,000 satellites are quietly orbiting above your head, forming the backbone of Starlink, the largest satellite internet network ever built. These satellites are small, cheap by space standards, and there are so many of them that destroying the network with missiles would take years and cost a fortune. But on July 9, 2026, Chinese military researchers published a paper that suggests missiles were never the plan. Instead, they revealed detailed technical information about a new generation of ground-based weapons capable of generating up to 100 gigawatts of microwave energy, enough power, according to the researchers themselves, to disable satellite electronics from the ground without ever leaving the atmosphere, without a single missile and at a fraction of the cost of a traditional anti-satellite weapon. This was not leaked. It was not a rumor. It was published openly by scientists at China's National University of Defense Technology in a peer-reviewed defense journal. So why would China choose to reveal something this sensitive on purpose? And just how real is the threat to a network like Starlink? Let's break down what was actually published.
Before getting into the specific numbers, it helps to understand what a high-power microwave weapon actually does, because it is very different from the lasers and missiles most people picture when they think of futuristic weapons. A high-power microwave weapon does not physically destroy its target with heat or a projectile. Instead, it generates an extremely intense, focused pulse of electromagnetic energy, similar in basic physics to the microwaves inside your kitchen, but concentrated into a beam millions of times more powerful and precisely directed at a specific target. When that energy pulse hits an electronic system, it can induce sudden electrical surges inside circuits, sensors, and communication systems. At lower power levels, this can jam or temporarily disable electronics. At higher power levels, it can physically burn out delicate internal components, permanently destroying the electronics without ever touching the outer structure of the target. Unlike a missile, a microwave weapon does not need to physically strike its target to disable it. It just needs to deliver enough energy at the right frequency to overwhelm the electronics inside. That is what makes this class of weapon fundamentally different and in some ways more unsettling than conventional anti-satellite weapons.
The research was published in the journal High Power Laser and Particle Beams, authored by a team led by Zhang Jun from NUDT's College of Advanced Interdisciplinary Studies. According to the paper, China's pulsed power research has advanced rapidly in recent years, driven by sustained national strategic priorities, and the researchers describe their work as having moved from laboratory prototypes into practical, deployable systems. The core engineering challenge the paper addresses is one that has limited microwave weapons for years. A single power generator physically cannot produce enough clean energy on its own because of insulation limits and other physical constraints inside the hardware. The NUDT team's solution was to synchronize multiple compact pulsed power modules together into a single combined platform, allowing each individual unit to run at peak efficiency while dramatically improving the overall power-to-weight ratio of the system. Using that approach, the team says it has developed what it calls a 100 gigawatt class ultra-high power pulsed power system. For context on why that number matters so much, the paper states that microwave pulses reaching just 1 gigawatt are already capable of causing severe interference or outright damage to electronic hardware aboard satellites in low Earth orbit. A system capable of 100 times that output is not a marginal improvement, it is an entirely different category of capability.
If this sounds like it came out of nowhere, it did not. Back in February of 2026, Chinese researchers at the Northwest Institute of Nuclear Technology in Xi'an had already revealed a separate but related system called the TPG-1000CES, a 5-ton, roughly 4-meter-long microwave generator capable of producing 20 gigawatts of energy for sustained bursts of up to 60 seconds, designed to be mounted on trucks, ships, or aircraft. At the time, experts noted that 20 gigawatts already far exceeded the roughly 1 gigawatt output that analysts believe would be needed for a ground-based system to meaningfully threaten satellites in low Earth orbit.
The July disclosure builds directly on top of that earlier reveal, jumping from 20 gigawatts to a 100 gigawatt class system just a few months later. Seen together, these are not isolated announcements. They represent a rapid, sustained escalation in a specific, deliberately chosen area of military technology, and China appears to be documenting that progress publicly and consistently, rather than keeping it hidden the way most nations typically treat sensitive military research.
The reason Starlink and networks like it come up so often in coverage of this research is not incidental. Traditional anti-satellite weapons, like missiles that physically strike and destroy a target satellite, create a serious side effect: an expanding cloud of high-speed orbital debris that can threaten every other satellite in the region, including the attacking country's own spacecraft, for years or even decades afterward. That single problem has helped deter major powers from using kinetic anti-satellite weapons in real conflicts. A ground-based microwave weapon largely sidesteps that problem. According to the researchers, this technology offers a way to disrupt or damage satellite electronics without necessarily generating debris, at what they describe as an extremely low cost per engagement compared to launching interceptor missiles. Large satellite constellations, like Starlink, built from thousands of relatively small, mass-produced satellites in low Earth orbit, are particularly relevant to this kind of technology, especially in scenarios where those satellites are being used to support military communications or coordination during an active conflict, which is exactly the kind of use case that has already come up during recent conflicts around the world.
This raises an obvious question. If this technology is genuinely this capable, why would Chinese military researchers publish the details openly instead of keeping the program classified? Analysts covering the story have pointed to a few likely explanations, working together rather than a single motive. Publishing in a peer-reviewed academic journal, rather than through a military or state media announcement, gives the disclosure a layer of scientific credibility that raw propaganda would not carry, while still ensuring the message reaches foreign defense analysts who closely monitor exactly this kind of research literature. There is also a clear deterrence angle, demonstrating advanced capability to rival militaries without ever needing to actually use the weapon in conflict. And there is a domestic angle as well, showcasing tangible technological progress to a Chinese public and leadership that has closely followed the broader narrative of China finding new paths around Western technology restrictions. It's also worth noting plainly that this was not an unbiased press release. Russian state-affiliated media amplified the story within hours of its release, explicitly framing the technology as a direct counter to Starlink, drones, and Western communications infrastructure, a framing that serves specific geopolitical narratives and should be read with that context in mind rather than taken purely at face value.
It is important to stay precise about what this research paper actually demonstrates, because headlines about 100 gigawatt space weapons tend to outrun the underlying science. The paper focuses primarily on the pulsed power generation technology itself, the ability to produce a large amount of concentrated electrical energy in a short burst, rather than on the full engineering requirements of an actual deployed anti-satellite weapon system. Turning a powerful ground-based energy generator into a functioning weapon capable of reliably hitting a fast-moving satellite requires solving several additional, extremely difficult problems, including precise beam targeting and tracking against objects moving at roughly 7 kilometers per second, atmospheric interference that can scatter or weaken a microwave beam over long distances, thermal management for a system generating that much power in rapid pulses, and platform mobility if the system needs to be moved or repositioned. The paper does not present public evidence that all of these integration challenges have been solved at the power levels being described. There is also no independent outside verification of China's specific capability claims, which is standard for military research disclosures from any country, not a flaw unique to this particular paper.
Whatever the exact current capability turns out to be, this disclosure fits into a much larger and increasingly urgent conversation happening across every major space power right now. The United States, Russia, and China have all been actively researching whether high-power microwave technology can be developed into a practical, deployable anti-satellite weapon, precisely because it offers a way to disable enemy satellites without the catastrophic debris consequences of a traditional kinetic strike. As more countries and private companies place more critical infrastructure into low Earth orbit, from internet access to military communications to navigation systems that civilian life increasingly depends on, the security of that orbital layer is becoming as strategically important as securing the ground, the sea, or the sky. This particular Chinese disclosure is one especially prominent public data point in that much larger, quieter global race, one where progress has mostly stayed hidden inside classified programs the public rarely gets to see. What makes July's paper different is not the mere existence of the technology. It is that China chose to let the world see this piece of it.
So here's the real question. If space has quietly become the next battlefield, and the weapons being built for it don't leave debris, don't require a missile, and can be fired from the back of a truck, how prepared is the rest of the world actually for that shift? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more grounded, fact-checked breakdowns of the military and space technology reshaping the balance of power right now, subscribe, because this story is far from finished.